There's still okay, recording is in progress. It looks like attendees are starting to filter in through the chat, so we'll just give a couple of minutes to make sure everyone that was in the waiting room is on the Zoom, and then we'll go ahead and jump into it. But thank you both for being here today. Okay. We've got a couple of people maybe still trickling on, but it looks like it's slowed down. And it is 12:01, so we're going to go ahead and jump into it because we're all on a tight schedule today. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this candidate forum ahead of the June 7th runoff forum. My name is Cecil Lenzen, and I'm a government accountability reporter with the Fort Worth Report, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. This forum includes the two candidates for Fort Worth City Council District 6, which includes the majority of Southwest Fort Worth, plus the historically Black neighborhood of Como. Incumbent Councilmember Jared Williams is stepping down from the district seat after 2 terms. 4 candidates sought the seat in the May 3rd election, but no candidate earned more than 50% of the vote, triggering the runoff election next week. The 2 candidates with the most votes from the May election are here with us today, Daryl Davis and Mia Hall. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment, but first a few housekeeping notes for the audience. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks, 2 minutes for closing remarks, and 90 seconds each to answer questions. Our reporting fellow, Chris Moss, is off screen, but he will indicate when your time is up at the 30-second mark and when your time is up. For the sake of time and fairness, candidates' mics may be muted if they go over their allotted time. I've compiled questions from Fort Worth Report readers and our own news staff. If you're in the audience, feel free to type questions into the Q&A chat as they come up. We plan to feature a few questions from the audience towards the end. Before we get started, I do want to thank our nearly 80,000 subscribers and 2,400 members who make our work and events like this possible. You can become a member by making a gift of any amount today through our website. The conversation is being recorded, and the recording, plus a written recap from my beat partner, Drew Shaw, will be available online at fortworthreport.org. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. With each candidate, I'll ask each of you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about why you're running. Dr. Hall, we can start with you, and then we'll go to you, Mr. Davis.
Okay. I'm trying to do a timer here myself, but let me just get started. My name is Dr. Mia Hall, and I'm running for Fort Worth District 6. I want to first thank the Fort Worth Report for giving this opportunity to talk about my candidacy and my platform. I am I've lived in District 6 for 22 years. My husband and I raised our son, Xavier, there, and we are small business owners also in District 6. We own an HVAC company in the Como community where we've resided for nearly 10 years. I'm a 24-year veteran educator. I've worked with the Fort Worth ISD from substitute teacher to where I serve today as Executive Director of Strategic Recruitment. I'm a dedicated volunteer serving in the Junior League of Fort Worth, serving with United Way of Tarrant County, and I've also served as a zoning commissioner for our current council member, Jared Williams, for 2 years. I am also a school board trustee. I wanted to bring my passion for education and my expertise to Crowley ISD. I ran in 2015 where I was elected, and I've served there dedicatedly for the last 10 years. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm running on safe neighborhoods. I'm running on improved infrastructure and city services, and I'm running on the right type of economic development for District 6. All of those things look different for our citizens depending on where you live in the district. If you're in Southwest Fort Worth, it could be response times for our EMS and our fire. If you are in the Como community, it could look like economic development along Horn Street and concerns about gentrification. It just depends on where you are. If you We're looking for, if you're along Southwest Fort Worth, along the Chisholm Trail, we have concerns with dense multifamily development, and we're in need of grocery stores. We're in need of traffic lights and stop signs. So it looks different, but I've had enough time to I've spent a lot of time with our neighbors, standing on porches, on phone calls, and these are the issues that are concerning us most. And it's a pleasure to be here. And if elected, I promise to help bring safety to Six, improve infrastructure, and the right type of economic development. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Daryl Davis, the proud dad to Taylor and Gavin, my amazing 15-year-old daughter and my 10-year-old son. I'm a native of Fort Worth. I've lived here all my life, and now I'm raising my family here. I've spent my life creating real solutions to the challenges that everyday people like you and I face through workforce development, through public education, as well as through neighborhood advocacy. I currently serve as the Vice President of Workforce and Career Development at UpSpire, where I am helping neighbors experiencing barriers to employment. I'm helping them to rebuild their lives through jobs, through housing, as well as opportunity in partnership with various stakeholders throughout our city. I also serve as the executive pastor of Inspiring Temple of Praise Church, a school board president in Crowley ISD, as well as a lifelong advocate for strong neighborhoods. I'm running for city council because I believe that government, local government in particular, should work for working families, not political outsiders or special interests. That's why I'm proud to be the only candidate supported by the people who actually live here, our neighbors, local labor unions, as well as local Democrats. So there is a clear difference in this race. I'm the only candidate who has created good paying jobs for the most vulnerable, who's fought for workers and led efforts to raise wages. I've demanded justice for Jackie Craig, a District 6 resident, as well as a Tatiana Jefferson. I've led a community listening session on pedestrian safety, particularly after 2 CISD students were hit by a car, and was the only candidate who showed up. I stood against Tim O'Hare's unjust attempt to disenfranchise District 6, especially the Lake Como community, while others were not. This race isn't about political promotion for me. It's about continuing to do the work along with my neighbors. I'm working to ensure that our neighborhoods are safe, that our neighborhoods are affordable, and our neighborhoods are well planned. And I'll keep delivering those things for you, our neighbors, as your next council member.
Thank you both for your responses. Fort Worth is rapidly growing, just recently surpassing 1 million residents. District 6 is one of the fastest growing council districts. How would you ensure economic and infrastructure growth can accommodate population growth, particularly in your district? Dr. Hall, if you'd like to start.
Thank you. Serving as a zoning commissioner, I've had an opportunity to work with developers and also our councilmen with developers to make sure that we bring the type of infrastructure that we need. As you know, we've passed, like you said, 1 million people in Fort Worth, and we are in absence of traffic lights. We're in absence of speed mitigation. And so I think it's important to work with our economic development department within the city to make sure that we're attracting the right type of development. I think at the foundation of all solutions is actually engaging the community, in which I've already done that, but also in order to respond to make sure that we bring what they want to the district. So we definitely know that we want grocery stores, so we need to work with economic development. We know that we want to repair our roads in the aging community, so we need to work with TPNW. I think at the basis of that also is making sure that we have a fiscally responsible budget and that we provide the monies that we need in order to bring the infrastructure that we need to our community. Also, we need thriving communities. And so if you're in the Como community, we need to make sure that we have a vision on what that looks like and how we want to continue to grow and also bring development to the area and not disenfranchise or marginalize or gentrify the community so that those that live there can continue to live there and continue to perpetuate the rich heritage that we have in the Como community. So for me, I believe that it's my job to be an ambassador between the community. It's my job to be an advocate. It's my job to make sure that we have the budget necessary to fund the departments in the city that provide services and resources to our community. It's important that we support our first responders with the resources that they need in order to be responsive to our community. I'm sorry, I thought you were saying something.
Time is up, Dr. Hall. Mr. Davis,
Okay.
your response.
Sure, thank you. So for me, it is important that the voices of our neighbors are not lost in these conversations. And that's why I prioritize meeting with voters on a consistent basis, going door to door, also hosting listening sessions, both in the far southwest portion of our city, of our district, as well as in the Lake Como community. We know that our district is growing, and that's a great thing. District 6 is a great place to live. We want to make sure that our communities are and our neighborhoods are well planned so that you can work, live, shop, play, all of the things, learn right there in District 6. And so I'm working to make sure that as we are growing, that we don't lose sight of working class issues, that we keep our neighborhoods safe, that we keep our neighborhoods affordable and well planned with excellent city services. I want to make sure that Fort Worth continues to work for everyday people, just like myself, as well as my neighbors in District 6. Part of that looks like making sure that development is smart, that it's responsible growth. It doesn't make sense to me, and I've continued to say it doesn't make sense to me that we have rooftops before we have roads. We've got to make sure that we make some critical investments in infrastructure. We've got to make sure that we make investments as it pertains to first responders, because depending upon where you live in the district, it could mean up to a 15-minute response time. And that is unfortunate for parts of the district that are growing considerably, but also for those historical communities, those communities that are established. We've got to make sure that there's revitalization happening in the Meadow Creek community, happening in Lake Como, but ensuring that the voices of the residents are prioritized so that development looks like what the neighborhoods are desiring.
Councilmember Jared Williams has placed an emphasis on preserving green space during his tenure on council, and the district has amassed more than 350 acres of open space just in District 6 through the city's conservation program. Where do you rank the importance of green space preservation, and how will you navigate the impact of rapid development on your district? Mr. Davis. Sorry, you're still muted.
Thank you. That's so much for these virtual forums. Thank you. So I think that it's important to make sure that if given the opportunity as a council member to serve as a council member, that I want to make sure that the neighbors in District 6 know that I am committed to advancing policies that protect vulnerable communities from environmental harm, that reduce pollution, and holding polluting industries accountable. This is important, and this is why most neighbors in District 6 are grateful to Councilmember Williams, because we have continued to prioritize green space. We want to make sure that our communities, again, are well planned and ensure that we have parks, to make sure that we have areas to where families and individuals can continue to grow and appreciate all the great things that are in District 6. That's why I'm supported and I have the endorsement of the Sierra Club, because we are protecting and fighting for environmental justice and ensuring that green spaces are protected. I think that it's one of the things, as we are considering our communities and ensuring that they are well planned, it is also making sure that as large home development communities are being built, that a part of that master plan is protecting our parks and protecting our waterways and all of those type things. And so it is imperative to me. It's important to many of my neighbors, and that's something that I will continue to fight for if given the opportunity to serve on council.
Dr. Hall.
I promise I'm going to find this mute button. Well, plain and simple, green spaces are very important. In my role as a zoning commissioner, I learned a lot. I had an opportunity to work with Councilman Williams and have conversations and express the concerns of our neighbors when developers were coming into the District 6 community to develop these master plan communities. And a lot of the conversations around that development centered on preserving green space. Even if it was a dense multifamily community, we wanted to make sure that we have make sure that we have and maintain green spaces. I think that Councilman Williams did an exceptional job with the Rock Creek project in giving us a model, a roadmap, if you will, on the importance of preservation in green spaces. So when you ask me how will I steward that, I think it's very important that one, that we look at zoning and that we look at our master plan for our community and that we make sure that we have plans to maintain that green space. I think that it's also important that we work with our developers to make sure that we set an expectation and that we steward that expectation. Of course, we want nice parks, we want nice facilities, we want walking trails, we want to preserve the beauty. District 6 is one of the last places that you'll see in the city that has so much potential for that type of development. And so we need to create development that that leverages that embodies it, and that edifies the opportunities that we have there. And so I will be on the front line, making sure that I'm an ambassador to bring, the importance of preservation, the importance of safety. Even as a zoning commissioner, I heard a lot of things about environmental concerns. More of them were in District 5, but we see from the errors or the exploitations of different areas and how to safeguard and protect. And so I've learned how to be a voice, and I've learned how to make sure that we use policy and ordinances and consensus and discussion to make sure that we steward the development and the preservation of our green spaces in District 6.
Thank you for that. Both of you have listed public safety and lowering gun violence as a priority over your campaigns. How do you plan to build on Councilmember Williams' initiatives to lower youth gun violence? Mr. Davis, if you'd like to start.
Sure, thank you. So, gun violence is a serious issue that requires a comprehensive approach where we focus on prevention, education, community partnerships, but also accountability. I believe that it is necessary for us to have solutions that address the root causes of crime while ensuring that our law enforcement agency have the support and the oversight necessary to serve our communities effectively. When we talk about crime prevention and education, the best way to reduce gun violence is to prevent it before it happens. And so we've got to get out of this mode of being reactive to it and be proactive about reducing it. So it means investing in education, in youth programs, in mental health resources, community-led initiatives as well that provide alternatives to violence. Crime prevention is about more than just increased law enforcement. It's about creating opportunities. It's about strengthening families and ensuring really that every young person has a pathway to success. We also have to make sure that there are community partnerships and support for activists. Collaboration is the key to addressing gun violence. And so I support partnerships, just as Dr. Williams has done with organizations like the 1 Second Collaborative, which work to prevent gun violence through intervention, mentorship, and community engagement. And we've got to make sure that we stand with activists like Pastor McIntosh and Melinda Hamilton, and the founder of Mothers of Murder Angels, and those who are on the front lines advocating for families.
Dr. Hall.
So during my service with United Way of Tarrant County, I had an opportunity to be a part of the 1 Second Collaborative as we got it off the ground. It was a partnership between the city, the county, and United Way in order to disrupt the gun violence that we are experiencing in our communities with our teens. In that role, I had an opportunity to review grants and see all of the countless nonprofit organizers and providers who are able to work with us hand in hand to stop and disrupt gun violence. So I will continue to find funding for those opportunities as that grant comes to an end. I will continue to lift the voices of those organizers and nonprofit participants who can help us end gun violence. I think there's an importance of bringing our ISDs into the conversation as well, along with our nonprofit sector, along with our government entities, to make sure that we are all working together to support our students, whether that's mental health, whether that's just awareness, whether that's just giving them a place to come and get out their frustrations, or to even just drop a tip so they can tell someone how we can prevent it. I think that interrupting gun violence is definitely a responsibility of our entire community. And so with my nonprofit experience, my experience as an educator, and certainly my experience working with the 1 Second Collaborative, it would be my pleasure to work with people like Bishop McIntosh in the VIP program and Melinda Hamilton to make sure that we have what we need, the resources that we need to disrupt this gun violence and to support our youth and to help them make better choices.
Como was folded into District 6 after the council redrew district lines in 2022. Based on your engagement with Como voters, what do you see as their biggest concerns, and how will you ensure you're representing Como residents while also representing the majority of Southwest Fort Worth? Dr. Hall, you can start.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question. Getting to know the Como community has definitely been a pleasure. I'm a history teacher at heart, and so the legacy and rich history of Como has just been, I've just been devouring it. And so to represent them, I would, the biggest concern that I hear it's a number of things, honestly, development. The community doesn't want to be left behind. I think that is the promise that they have asked. It's just to make sure that we're not overlooked and left behind. They know that they want development. The community wants development. They want to see the promise and the opportunity that lies within the development of Horn Street. But we also need opportunities to make sure that the people who live within the community can be those who invest in the businesses that are going to be along Horn Street. We're worried about gentrification. When I served as zoning commissioner, we had short-term rentals that started to proliferate the community. And fortunately, through an ordinance, we don't have that anymore, but we still have blank spaces in our neighborhoods. And what type of development will we bring there is also of concern, because there's been people that have lived there for generations, their families have been there for generations, and they don't want to lose their homes because of the adverse effects of gentrification. And so to make sure that I'm represented, I will make sure that I'm present. I've attended every NAC neighborhood meeting for the last 5 months, with the exception of one, to make sure that I hear the voices and I've gotten to know community members. I've shared my contact information so they can call me personally. And so I'll create communication. I'll close the loop by making sure that I bring back the outcomes that we're discussing and the things that we're doing in City Council. And I will not treat them as if they are apart from our community, even though we are, far away from Southwest Fort Worth, where I may reside. But I will make sure that I'm present, accessible, and an advocate for the Como community, because they have a legacy and a heritage that needs to be protected.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you. So I am proud to say that I have been connected to the Como community since I was 14 years old. I started at Strangers Rest Baptist Church, and so I have family members and lifelong friends who are residents of the Como community. And I personally spent a great deal of time there, both in my formative years, but as well as an adult. And one of the things that I'm proud of is the collective energy that exists in Como. Como is a unique community, and it's imperative to understand the history of Como, to appreciate the spirit that resides in Como. And it is because of that spirit that resides in Como that Como was voted 2 years in a row as Neighborhood of the Year. And so congratulations to all my people in Como. That is a great thing. As I have talked with family members and people that I have known for years in the Como community, as well as those that I'm still getting to know, several of the things that have come up as concerns in the Como community. Number one is crime. They are concerned about crime, making sure that particularly as Como is an aging community, they want to make sure that the seniors that live in Como feel safe in the neighborhood that they've called home for so long. And so, of course, dealing with the crime issue is imperative to that community. Part of the reason that Como has thrived the way that it has is because it's always had a great relationship with its MPO. And even though the MPO has been changed in Como, they're working to develop that relationship. And I think that that's the way that it happens, not just for the Como community, but for all of our neighborhoods. There has to be a partnership between the police and the community. Como is also concerned about economic development, making sure that as the neighborhood, I'm sorry.
That's unfortunately your time.
Okay.
So
As
Cecilia, just to let you know, I can't speak for Mr. Davis, but I don't think we can't hear your. I can't hear your time warnings. Can you like maybe hold up a finger or something?
yeah,
Like I see
yeah,
your
no,
lips move, which says that something's happening, but I can't. I couldn't tell what your warnings are.
okay,
Is
yeah,
that
no. Thank you for
okay?
letting us know that. Yeah, no, I'll hold up a finger. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a finger. And
Okay,
actually, that's probably better because it doesn't interrupt the train of thought. But thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't.
okay, no, thank you for letting us know.
Okay.
Course correcting. Okay. Our next question. As the Tarrant Appraisal District freezes property values across the county, the city of Fort Worth is currently asking city departments to find ways to cut their budgets. How would you approach the budget adoption process and work to protect the interests of residents in your district throughout that process? Mr. Davis, we can start with you.
Sure, great, thank you. So as a city council member, my top budget priorities will focus on smart, responsible growth, a sustainable cost of living, ensuring that our neighborhoods are affordable and our neighborhoods are safe. This means that we've got to make sure that public investments in infrastructure, home affordability, and public safety are prioritized in a way that benefits all residents. So part of my approach is always when any decision is being made that is going to have a direct impact on individuals, I think that we have to engage with our neighbors. And so personally, I will hold town halls, I will hold neighborhood meetings and listening sessions across the district to hear directly from those essential workers, those city employees, as well as the neighbors and small business owners about what their most pressing needs are. We also have to have accessible channels for input, which means we've got to have some alternatives to people who can't attend public meetings. So I will work to expand online surveys as well as feedback portals, but also make sure that I am present. I'm the only candidate that has talked about being present in the district to be able to hear the concerns of the neighborhood. I like to call it Council Member on Your Corner, which is something that will be published in advance to where neighbors can allow their voices to be heard because they'll know exactly where to find me inside District 6.
Dr. Hall.
Cecilia, would you repeat the question for me, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no,
I just had a
absolutely.
little feedback when you read it the first time.
Sure. As the Tarrant Appraisal District freezes property values across the county, the city of Fort Worth is currently asking departments to find ways to cut their budgets. How would you approach the budget adoption process and work to protect the interests of residents in your district?
Thank you for the question. So I think I would probably most likely lean into my experience as a board member and also as a department leader within the ISD where I've served for 24 years. There, we definitely need to hear the voice of the community and make sure that we've captured what it is that they feel that they need. And I've had plenty of time to do that. But in this process, I would definitely want to make sure that I know exactly what the community needs. And I think that we can make smart decisions where cuts are needed. We're experiencing that in the school system. We're having to make tough cuts, but we can't cripple our District 6, or our city, and make sure that we provide the infrastructure that we need. I believe that there's a way to be fiscally responsible and balance and deliver a balanced budget, but also uplifting the needs and the desires of the community. And so my job will be to find out what our community members want, to make sure that we provide reasonable cuts or advise of reasonable cuts to the budget. Some of the things that we talk about, even in development, that I've had the conversations with developers, when we cut into staff, we add to times to even just do a development project, which creates higher costs, and we pass those costs on to the consumer. So we have to be very diligent and intentional about the cuts that we bring to make sure that we're not impacting effectiveness. So I think it's a balance. It's a multi-pronged approach. It's making sure that we know what our priorities are, making sure that we're making smart budget recommendations and cuts, and making sure that we are still able to provide the services that we promised. And then don't forget about the bond. We have a bond coming up next year. And so there's an opportunity, if we're smarter with our planning, to use the bond to help leverage and lift up or continue projects that we're not unable to do on an annual basis. So that's some experience that I've had as a trustee, working both with the bond and working with an annual budget. And I'll bring that expertise to my role as city councilwoman.
Multiple traffic incidents in Southwest Fort Worth have resulted in the near death of young students, particularly at busy intersections. What initiatives or strategies would you implement to address traffic safety issues in your district, particularly as it continues to grow? Mr. Davis.
So I appreciate this question because this is something that is certainly near and dear to my heart. Um, the unfortunate reality is we had not one, but we had two students who were leaving their local middle school, who were headed home on their scooters and were struck by cars. Um, in the face of that, I didn't wait to take action. As a matter of fact, I got with Councilman Williams, and we jointly hosted a transportation and public safety, a pedestrian safety town hall. We met because it was important to me that we brought all of the stakeholders together. We needed to bring the city, the school district, as well as county officials together. I've led on long-term safety strategies, and I continue to work to ensure that the lives of our residents in District 6 are protected, but also that our neighborhoods are connected. It is important, again, that we have neighborhoods that are smart and that are responsible and that are well planned. And so that comes with ensuring that we have the necessary transportation and pedestrian infrastructure in place so that all of our communities are walkable and people can navigate through the community without having fear for their lives just as they are trying to transition. So again, this is something that I have already began to work on, something that I am continuing and willing to continue to lead on as well.
Dr. Hall.
I do share Mr. Davis's sentiments and concern with regards to we did have two students struck by cars in the traffic circle. And so I think with that, there's an opportunity for education. We talk about just the implementation of traffic circles throughout our city, and there's really no consistency, which lane goes forward, which lane stays in the circle, things of that nature. And not to make light, but there's certainly an opportunity to educate our drivers in our community. Also, I think that we need to make sure that we have that infrastructure, that we make sure that we have the stoplights and that we have the stop signs, not just in our newer developments, but also in our aging communities. There's been speed mitigation needed in communities for years. I mean, and at this point, sometimes decades, that are still absent there. And so we need to make sure that we have those interventions to support. Also, I think it's very important that the City Council office do their part. When we see these opportunities for infrastructure, when we see these opportunities to safeguard our communities through traffic mitigation and speed mitigation and traffic, things of that nature, we have to work with TPNW. And we need to make sure that they not only have the funding that they need to be responsive to these demands, but that we also hold them accountable to be responsive to these demands and critical needs. And so I will definitely be boots on the ground. I would definitely be an educator of our community. I would definitely make sure that I work with our staff to make sure that we are making plans on how we're going to remedy some of these issues, and that we're timely and that we're proactive and not reactive. And then also working with developers, not after a problem has arisen, but before we have a problem, so that we can prevent these traffic accidents and prevent harm to our students and to our pedestrians and to our neighbors. Our priority as council men and women should be to keep our community safe.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. If elected, you'll be joining a city council of diverse interests, ideologies, and backgrounds. How do you foresee your life experience fitting into the current dynamic and bringing a new perspective to the council? And how do you expect to work collaboratively with other council members despite potential differences? Dr. Hall, you can start.
Well, actually, I feel like I've been training for this my entire life. And just part of it, just being an educator. Every year, you're meeting new people, whether that's teachers, whether that's students, whether that's parents. So I have extensive experience in being the new kid on the block, if you will. And so I have served in the Crowley Independent School District for the last 10 years. And so I have learned how to work with others that have differences in opinion. And we may not always agree. I think that it's important to be respectful of other people's perspective, but I think it's also important that you have the courage and be bold to stand up for what it is, your values, what you believe in, and most importantly, to represent the interests and interests of District 6 residents. So for me, I feel like I bring experience in garnering change through governance. I bring the right temperament, and that I know how to hold my tongue. I know even when under personal attack, that I know how to be courteous and professional, and I want to model that for the people that I come to work with. But at the same time, I'm a lifelong learner, and I know that those who are currently on council before me have added value, and that they can share their experiences and educate me in areas that I'm deficient in or places where I haven't had an opportunity to learn. So I'm eager to join the council. I'm eager to bring my skills and my strength. And I'm eager to work with them to realize a better Fort Worth. We won't always agree. Each one of our districts has different interests. And we don't all share a same party, but what's important is that we do what's best and move Fort Worth forward and not stand up for the citizens of District 6.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Sure, and I just want to lift that I'm not sure that the raised finger is working because so just want to lift that. But my 90 seconds starts now. So, I certainly look forward just to the opportunity to serve on the city council. I have been, I am a proven leader. I have served in leadership in various capacities throughout my life, both personally, professionally, spiritually, as a pastor, as well as a community advocate, as president of the board of trustees. I was voted president in my first term because of the way that I led, and I was grateful to have the endorsement and the support of my colleagues on the school board. And I think that was a reflection of just what it is that I bring to the table from a perspective of leadership. The truth of the matter is, as a trustee, I have been a consensus builder. I've been able to ensure that, particularly on tough issues and tough times, that we've been able to move beyond the personal, individual perspectives and really focus on what the main thing is. And so I have advocated for communities, which is why I was there speaking up for Tatiana Jefferson. I was there speaking up for Jackie Craig. I was there speaking up against the county redistricting and the racial gerrymandering. So that is something that I bring to the council. I bring presence. I make sure that I am there to reflect the desires of the people that elected me to serve. And that's what I will continue to do. And even in serving on the city council, if given the opportunity, I'll work with my colleagues at that time to build consensus.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Pending state legislation stands to impact the city's ability to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and initiatives. How do you see the role of DEI in a municipal government, and do you think it's important for Fort Worth to maintain its DEI initiatives? Dr. Hall.
Thank you so much for the question. And so, little known fact, I served as the Executive Director of Equity and Excellence prior to my role. I served in that role for 4 years until it was outlawed by our state to have an Equity and Excellence Department in our public school systems. And so I do believe that preserving DEI is important. And while we have been crippled in our ability to do that formally through policy, I think it's very plausible and an expectation to do it by practice. And I think that we do that by being mindful of the practices that we implement, the policies that we create. And while we don't have to specifically say certain thresholds and things of that nature, policies that we had to change in the Crowley ISD school district, policies and changes that we had to make at Tarrant County, at the United Way of Tarrant County, in order to be in compliance with federal government and state government demands. But I think that how we govern and giving attention to make sure that we don't marginalize or exclude, that we make sure that we include and that we uplift, that we garner voice, and that we make sure that we have representation. It's very important that we have a city that works for everybody, a city that people feel that they're valued, that they're seen. And so we need to make sure that we create practices and processes and programs in order to do that. Rather through that home buying, to make sure that we can create affordable housing opportunities, to make sure that we have health services and things of that nature, to make sure that we have resources in under-resourced communities. That we just need. Our job is to make sure that we build the infrastructure needed policy-wise. And also perform and deliver to make sure that all voices are heard and that everyone is represented and that everyone in the city has an opportunity to live and thrive.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is no secret that communities of color feel attacked, and we are under attack. Black and brown communities, Native Americans, American Asians, Pacific Islanders are all feeling under attack. And I think that it is imperative that we, the elected representatives here locally, that we fight to ensure that we protect communities of color. And this is nothing new. It is just a consistent dismantling of the protections that exist for people of color in this country. And so when we talk about programs like 287G, they don't reflect the values of an inclusive, forward-thinking Fort Worth. And so when certain things come before the city council, we're having to ensure that we have representatives who are not afraid to be bold, who are not afraid to be courageous, and who are not willing to just go along to get along. We have to fight to protect the things that are important that make our communities what they are. I'm a proud dad of a 15-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. I want to make sure that the Fort Worth that we are building is the Fort Worth that I am proud to raise my children in, which means that we've got to have leadership that is willing to advocate for children just like mine, children just like many of my neighbors in District 6. We cannot sit idly by and just allow these things to happen. We've got to be willing to go even when we have to go alone. That's the energy and that's the power that I'm bringing to the Fort Worth City Council.
At this time, we're going to take a couple of questions from the audience. We have a couple people asking for each of the candidates, what is your view of the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court push to redistrict? Mr. Davis, if you would like to start.
Frankly, it's unnecessary. It is racially motivated. It is trying to be cloaked in political rhetoric and making it appear that this is about creating a conservative court. But when in fact, when you look at the data, you see that this is about racial gerrymandering. And we have to call it out for what it is. We have to ensure that people like Tim O'Hare and Manny Ramirez, that they know that we are not okay with this. That's why I was there in Lake Como advocating for District 6, particularly the Como community. That's why I was there with Commissioner Elisa Simmons there in Arlington, making sure that our voices were heard, that she knew and Commissioner Miles knew that there were leaders in this city who were not afraid to call a spade, who were not afraid to speak to the atrocity that is trying to happen on our Commissioner's Court. That's why I'm proud of people like former Commissioner Devin Allen who are speaking out against this, because again, we have to make sure that we call it what it is. It is racial gerrymandering. The people in Tarrant County, particularly the people in the city of Fort Worth, in District 6, and in Lake Como, deserve better than this. And we have to have the courage to stand up, to speak up, and to allow our voices to be heard to speak against practices like this.
Thank you. Dr. Hall?
Plain and simply, I'm in opposition, and I stand in opposition. I believe that this attempt to redistrict mid-census is unnecessary. I think it's out of line. Rather, practice equates policy. We've had a policy and practice of redistricting at the census, and just because there were no needed changes previously doesn't mean that there needs to be a change mid-census. And so I stand with the council members of Fort Worth who signed the resolution speaking to their opposition. I also support our local mayors in the municipalities who also joined together to speak against the process. The process is out of line, and it seeks to diminish voice and representation. I believe very strongly in democracy, and I do believe that it will diminish the voices of those citizens who live in Precinct 1 and Precinct 2. It will definitely is an attempt to silence the bold leadership of Commissioner Elisa Simmons, who I'm proud to have the endorsement of. And we've seen attacks on leaders who are willing to stand up and be bold. And so what we have is an attempt to silence people and diminish the power of their vote. And so as a council member, I think it's important that we stand together, that we bring wrongs to light, that we're brave regardless of partisanship or party or anything of that nature, that we can say that a violation of policy and infringement on the rights of some is a risk to the rights of all of us. And so we have a responsibility to stand up. And so plain and simple, I speak against it. I'm in opposition to it. And I stand with our commissioners' court leaders like Commissioner Miles and Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. Some audience members feel changes to the structure of city council meetings are limiting residents' ability to speak during public meetings. What would you do to ensure District 6 residents feel like they are heard, their First Amendment rights are respected, and their concerns are considered? Dr. Hall.
First and foremost, I am a loud proponent of community voice. I think it is very important that you always garner community voice in times of change and in all times, just to even keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the community and what the needs of the community are. I think that open forum is very important, and I know that there have been changes to open forum practices in order to accommodate certain schedules and things of that nature. And I would be a proponent for making sure that we have opportunities for all of our neighbors to engage. We're all working class people, and we're all, balancing a myriad of responsibilities. So I think it's very important to create the infrastructure and the opportunity and the accessibility for our communities to bring voice. On the other side of that, I think it's also important to have town halls and community forums regularly. Something that I think that Councilman Williams initially did very well, and something that he modeled for us. But there has been decreased opportunities to give input in District 6. And so I want to bring that back. I want to host those town halls so that I can hear from the community what's working, what's not working, just their solutions and suggestions to problems that we may have, or give us the opportunity to be proactive and prevent problems before they even arise. And so not only will I have town halls, I'll also have digital communication in the form of newsletters. As the zoning commissioner, there were so many times I would find myself fighting against a car wash, but I didn't have the citizens that I needed in the chamber to also stand and show that that is what their desires were, or what they didn't want for our community. So my job was also to create two-way opportunities and make sure that I engage our community and let them know times when we need them to be present and need them to make their voices heard even louder. And also, I want to close the loop. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. So, frankly, I've shown up consistently. I've shown up at public hearings, neighborhood meetings, and across our community. For me, it is about making sure that I am present to hear the voices of the people that I currently and hope to represent. when we talk about public input, it is unfortunate that residents in our city don't have the opportunity to consistently allow their voices to be heard. This is an area in which I led on as just as a trustee, a newly elected trustee on the Crowley ISD Board of Trustees. When I arrived to the school board, we had an antiquated system of how residents and community members were able to sign up to allow their voices to be heard. We had an individual whom, frankly, I didn't necessarily agree with her perspective on some things, but what I did was I wanted to make sure that whether I agreed with someone or not was not a prerequisite for their voice to be heard. And so I worked with our communications team to revitalize our public comment system so that every resident in our district, every stakeholder could allow their voices to be heard. And so, again, I will bring that same energy to Fort Worth City Council. I will also make sure that that residents and my neighbors in District 6, they know exactly where to find me. They will find me holding office hours at community centers, at libraries, right there in District 6, in addition to the town halls and the public meetings that we'll continue to have, as well as continual outreach via electronic mail.
We have time for one more question before we segue into closing remarks. Our last question is, over the last year, Fort Worth's LGBTQ residents have voiced concerns about rising issues of homophobia and transphobia. As Pride Month approaches, where do you stand on the issue of LGBTQ rights, and how would you work to ensure all residents are safe and welcome in Fort Worth? Mr. Davis.
Thank you. So this is one of the things that I am most proud of, that even according to my, or as I shared in my previous response, I want to make sure that all voices are heard. And so serving in a position such as city council member, it's an opportunity to ensure that all voices of all residents are able to be heard. This is one of the reasons that I am grateful that most of the progressive organizations in our city have supported my candidacy, because I have a track record, a proven history of standing up for all voices to be heard, advocating for individuals to ensure that their values, that their thoughts, that their ideas are all welcome in the city of Fort Worth. And so ensuring that Pride Month, as well as other events and causes that are important to the LGBTQ community remain at the forefront. That's what residents and neighbors in District 6 are going to get from me. When I attended meetings such as the Stonewall Democrats, I heard those concerns, and I want to make sure that every single individual in the city of Fort Worth, particularly in District 6, knows that they are valued, that they are heard, that they are seen, and that they are appreciated. And those are the things that I plan to do if given the opportunity to represent all of our communities in District 6.
Thank you. Dr. Hall?
First and foremost, I want to emphasize my belief that when we sacrifice the rights of some, we actually compromise and risk the rights of all. And so I definitely want to support and do support the LGBTQ community. I am a proud member of the Stonewall Democrats, and I have attended their meetings. And I've heard the concerns that they brought forth. And I know that there's been emphasis with discussion with regard to a resolution to support Pride Month. And I think that it's important to ensure that everyone feels valued, everyone feels seen, everyone feels that Fort Worth is for them. And I don't think that it's fair to marginalize or exclude any community for any reason. And so I stand with the LGBTQ community, and I would make sure that they have their rights. And I think it's important to engage the community and help identify solutions to the problems that they're experiencing. I think it's also important that we connect our community with law enforcement to make sure that we know exactly what those safety issues and concerns are, so that we can be responsive and to make sure that we're thoughtful in our response to those issues. I believe that as a council member, it's my job to stand up and stand for everyone in our city, regardless of what group they belong to or what their interests are. We're supposed to be a voice and an advocate. And so if there is ever a time where a community feels like their rights are being infringed upon or they don't feel safe, that's an opportunity for us to all join hands and to stand together and to provide the solutions and the outcomes and support that they need to feel valued, supported, and most importantly, safe.
At this time, I will ask each of you to make your closing remarks. You have an additional 30 seconds to sum up what makes you the best candidate for this position. Dr. Hall, if you'd like to start.
First and foremost, I want to say thank you again for the Fort Worth Report for this opportunity to be here today and to share ideas about my candidacy and about my platform. I am running because I'm a dedicated community volunteer, because I love District 6. I've lived here for 22 years. I know the promise that we have, I know the shortcomings that we have, and I've always availed myself to my community. I believe that I am comfortable being uncomfortable. I believe that I have bold leadership. I certainly have experience as an elected official and garnering change through governance. And so I want to continue to be the voice for the voiceless. I want to continue to stand for those who need that. And I want to bring my experience and expertise, rather in real estate, rather it's in education to support literacy initiatives, rather it's just from the tenure of being an elected official and working together to build collaborations and stand in the gap so that we can move our city and our district forward. So I welcome the opportunity to make our neighborhoods safer, to improve our infrastructure and city services, and to bring the right type of economic development to District 6 so that we can have a sustainable, thriving community that works for not only District 6, but also makes our Fort Worth better as we continue to thrive and continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. Mr. Davis.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia, for moderating today, and thank you to the Fort Worth Report for this opportunity. I want to speak directly to my District 6 neighbors and say at the end of the day, this race is about trust and it's about proven leadership. I have spent my life working to earn that trust, not chasing political titles, but by showing up and serving our neighbors with integrity. That's why, as I stated before, I am proud to have the support of working class organizations like our local labor unions and progressive organizations. That trust has been built over years of service, not just during this campaign. That's exactly how I intend to lead, by showing up, listening first, and then standing with you every step of the way. I want to make sure that as we have agendas that are coming up against our community from political outsiders and special interests, I want to make sure that you know that I'm standing with you, which is why I was in Como, standing up for democracy and justice against Tim O'Hare and MAGA Republicans trying to silence our diverse community. While others gave vague answers or said what they thought you wanted to hear, I've always been honest, I've been transparent, and I've delivered real results, from leading historic investments in our schools to creating good paying jobs for our neighbors and our frontline educators. I believe in a Fort Worth that puts everyday people just like you and I over politics. One where every neighborhood is seen, every neighborhood is heard, every neighborhood is valued by your council representative. One where working families don't just get talked about during election season, but actually seeing results at your doorsteps, at your kitchen tables, and in your pocketbooks. Over these past several weeks and in the days leading up to this election day, I hope that I've earned your trust, and I hope to earn your vote. I want, if you want leadership that is rooted in service, not ambition, then I ask for your support and your vote. Together, we will win this election for everyday people just like you and just like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. That concludes our forum. Thank you to you both for participating today. We appreciate you sharing your time and your platforms. And thank you, of course, to Fort Worth Report members for making this possible. You can become a member by making a gift of any amount through our website. Also, a reminder to keep up with election results by reading the Fort Worth Report and subscribing to our government-focused newsletter, the Gov Report, which goes out every Friday with all the need-to-know info about Tarrant County government. Early voting for the runoff election opens today and runs through June 3rd. Election day is June 7th. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.